All right, Blues General Manager Doug Armstrong is here. We're ready for your questions. All right, guys, you can go ahead and fire away. Thanks.
Hey, Doug, it's Jeremy. When you step back and look at the big picture here, where your team was coming out of the bubble, roster-wise, where they are at now, this is about the best of circumstances. Looks like you lost a big part in Pietrangelo, but filled some holes and have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I would say that obviously we're a different team than we were at last year, and I think that's just natural. Every year your team changes, and it's been a interesting 3 or 4 months since the season ended with Tampa being named the champion, and we're just excited to be back on the ice, and we like the complement of players that we have. We are a little bit different, but the goals remain the same, as that to be competitive with the top teams in the league.
Doug, when all this started back on, I guess, March the 12th, in terms of a pandemic pause, could you imagine that almost a year later we're kind of still in this?
It does feel like Groundhog's Day, I'll tell you that. There is some excitement, there's a lot of excitement, quite honestly, in our organization right now, just with the 56-game season on the horizon, getting back on the road, traveling to different cities. It's not normal, obviously, without the fans in the building, but at least some it's more normal than it was certainly going into the bubble, and we're hoping that vaccine, everyone can get it as quick as possible, the general public, and then obviously our players. But normal is something that we're striving to get towards for sure.
In terms of players, Doug, it looked like you had your full complement out there. Do you think the players and the organization, maybe some lessons learned in terms of how to approach the pandemic and how to stay healthy from the first go-around, last April and May and whatnot?
Yeah, for sure. I just sense even coming into the training camp or the training block prior to training camp, there were so many questions last time on that were unanswered. Now I think people are much more comfortable understanding if they take care of themselves away from the rink, there's a strong likelihood they and their families will be healthy. And also, the effect of getting the virus, what it has, it's I don't want to say it's 100% doesn't affect this age bracket that the players are in, but they seem to be very less affected by it. So there's a little more comfort level, I guess, in understanding what we have to deal with, and we're looking to come out the other end of it, though, for sure.
Doug, is there especially an added importance here of these guys taking that time when they skated on their own to really get themselves ready, because this is such an abbreviated training camp and there's really not that usual amount of time that you normally get to get prepared for the season?
Yeah, that was information we tried to share with the guys coming into camp, is that you're going to hear all sorts of things. Talks are going to break off. Talks are going to pick back up between the league. The return to play is not going to happen. It's going to happen. And then your phone's going to ring and say, okay, we're going to training camp in 10 days and we're going to play 10 days after that. And that's basically what happened. So I give our guys a lot of credit. We've had a large majority of the guys here for a better part of a month, skating in different groups and training and being prepared for today. And we've done a study on how it looks like in the shortened seasons before. The difference between those shortened seasons and this one is where the number of teams we're playing is much less. We used to play in conference. Now we're playing in just division. The goals for, goals against, how special teams were tighter in those times, and I think it's even going to be a smaller variance now. So it was important for our guys to show up ready, and they have.
Hey, Army, we heard Braden say today that the team is motivated by feeling like it maybe let a chance go to compete for a championship. He said you don't always get those. We kind of felt like we squandered one in the bubble. Do you think this team, with what you've done this offseason, is built to make a run like that again? And do you think it's motivated by kind of the letdown in the bubble?
Yeah, I don't want to, my thought was we said we were opening a window a couple of years ago. That was year 2 of it. Now we're in year 3. So we believe, and I said to the players, that this team is built to compete this year. This team is constructed to compete with the best teams and play for a championship, and that doesn't happen around the league every year for every organization. So, we believe we've put ourselves in a good spot, but obviously it has to get done on the ice, or it doesn't really matter. But if you look at the age bracket of our core players, they're in that late 20s to early 30s, and this is the prime of their career, and we hope to have a team that can compete and fight for the top spot. Obviously, you can't win the Stanley Cup unless you make the playoffs, so we have to get to that. That's our first hurdle, is putting ourselves in a spot to get into the tournament, and then anything can happen. But we believe we can compete with a lot of teams right now, and we just have to take that belief and put it on the ice.
It seems like it would be a selling point when you're talking to Hoffman and his reps that he's in a situation where playing on a good team would be in his best interest. Maybe talk about those conversations. Says a lot about your organization, and then I had a quick follow-up after that. Sure.
Yeah, I think talking to Mike, we started this obviously months ago when free agency started, and then things, a lot of the conversations we've had with players is that contracts aren't deemed the value you have in the league. It's deemed the amount of cap space teams have. And Mike got in a situation where he wasn't comfortable with some of the offers that he had, so he was willing to look on a shorter term deal or coming with us on a tryout. Well, obviously, our plans are to get him signed. And then you start selling what you have, and we believe our strength of our team is down the middle of the ice with its O'Reilly and Shen and Thomas and Bozak and Sundqvist. Obviously today Craig had Shen on the wing, but he can always go back into the middle. So I think when you're trying to sell a winger to come to your organization, you're trying to sell the ability to play with good players. And then also I think the transition game we have on our back end right now is something that forwards want. So I think we were a good ability to sell what we have right now for a player like Mike.
That kind of leads into my follow-up. It doesn't look like we're going to get to talk to Chief today, but obviously you've had conversations about his line combinations coming into camp. Just could you speak specifically to Thomas in the middle with Hoffman, and then also it looks like you're giving Kyrou a good chance right out of the gate.
Yeah, I think that Craig just wants to take a look at some different things, maybe spreading out the scoring. We've said that Robert Thomas is a player that we'd like to get into our group of six. You could either do that on a wing or put him in the middle. He's an elite passer. That's been his game throughout his career, and I think because it's the first day of training camp, I don't think it's set in stone for 56 games, but it does give Mike and Swartzy a different look. It gives Shen with O'Reilly and Perron a look that we've seen in the past. And with Kyrou, he's a player that's had 2 years of pro hockey under his belt. He's been a dominant player at the junior level before, and now he's going to get that opportunity to play in a position with our team. But there's guys underneath there that want that position. So that's the great part of our training camp in JR. We don't have that every year, true competition, but I see really true competition right now into our groups of forwards and defense for ice time.
What part of Hoffman's game stands out to you the most?
I think is his release, his ability to score from distance. He's you look at the number of goals he's got over the last couple of years, you just don't do that by accident in the NHL. So I think he brings us a different element, ability, a player that can play off the attack and off the rush well, which is important for us, I think, in today's NHL. I think Kyrou brings that too. So as we try and evolve and grow our game, you need different players, and we think that these guys bring us something different than we've had in the past.
Doug, with some new players and also some veterans that are no longer here, you got a little bit of a different look to the team. Can you still have the same culture with this group?
Well, I think the culture is something that should live on between, regardless of one or two players come and go. It's something that I think starts with our organizational outlook on how we build teams. But we have a lot of guys that have been here for a long time, and I have no problem that the attitude and the culture of what we're trying to build and what we have built and what we're trying to maintain is going to be there moving forward.
Hey Doug, what did your research say about in a short season about having the importance of a number 2 goalie, and then how does that work with a number 2 goalie for you and Billy Husso, who's yet to play an NHL game?
Yeah, that's certainly an area that is going to get a lot of focus on it until Billy gets in there and proves that he can do it in the NHL. There's going to be those questions, but it was a situation where my job is to talk to other managers, and he's not a player that we felt would have got through waivers if it was necessary to put him through there. So it was time to find out if the asset's going to get the job done, and he's going to get that opportunity. I don't want to break down the number of games he's going to get. I think a lot of that will be based on Benner's play, obviously, first and foremost, but also the rest of work ratio. But he's going to have to play and play well for us to have a good season.
Guys, we have Torrey Krug ready, so let's do 2 more for Doug.
Hey, Army, what can Vladdy do right now? And did you have, in terms of his return and recovery, and what is your reaction or comments, if you had any, on his remarks about maybe being a little upset that he wasn't picked to be named captain?
Yeah, the first part is he just has to continue his rehab and get stronger. He's in working out with our group. He's going to get on the ice in short order, and that just takes care of itself over time. You know, we'll integrate him slowly and by himself, and then with different people, then into contact, then into more contact, scrimmages potentially, or full practice, then into the game. But we're a long ways away from that happening, in the sense that we're still in training camp, and he's certainly no one we're expecting to play here when we start the season. As far as the captaincy thing, I think it shows his passion for his commitment to St. Louis, his commitment to the organization. It's a difficult decision. It's something that we didn't take lightly. We talked to him about it, and so I had no problems with his disappointment. And ultimately, I think we talked about this when we named O'Reilly the captain, is that it's really a leadership group, and Vlad is a huge part of that leadership group.
Hey, Doug, didn't see Van Ryn on the ice today. Anything you could share there on his status or availability?
I don't know, what do we call it, upper body injury or general soreness, or no? He's not going to be on the ice for a few days. I'll leave it at that.
All right, thanks, Army.